Good evening, everybody. Thank you for watching Mikasa es Sukasa, and I am your host, Niko House, and I urge you all to join our One Follow $1 campaign, where we show the mainstream media that we will no longer put up with their nonsense, and if they will not invest in the truth, then we will invest in those who will. I also urge you all to hit that subscribe button and join us on our road to 10,000 subscribers. Yep, we are heading that way, and it's looking pretty good thus far. We've made a lot of progress this week. We've actually gotten 85 subscribers this week. I would love to see 85 more before the end of the week to help us reach that goal. So thank you so very much. I just want to go over some good news. Well, it may not seem like good news yet, but it is good news, and I'll explain why. So, for those of you who do not know, many experts across all political spectrums have finally come to the conclusion, which I feel like they should have before, but hey, you know, beggars can't be choosers at this point. But they finally come to the conclusion that the Broward County election chief broke the law in destroying the ballots involved in the Debbie Wasserman Schultz versus Tim Canova race. For those of you who don't know, a little background information: Tim Canova, actually using Elizabeth Lee Beck and Jared H. Beck, the two attorneys involved in the DNC fraud lawsuit, he decided to sue because he saw that there was some fishy stuff going on. And, well, there were fishy stuff going on across the board, so he was well warranted in feeling like that. However, as expected, the Debbie Wasserman Schultz camp, specifically the Snipes, who is in charge of all of the ballots in Broward County, she's actually the election supervisor. She didn't like that idea very much, and they felt like, wow, if they do an audit of these ballots, we're going to kind of get screwed. So the very same moment that Tim Canova asked the court to subpoena the ballots, this bright young woman, not the word that I would choose to describe her, but I'm trying to be nice here, okay? I'm trying to be nice. This bright young woman, in all of her domacity, decided it was a great idea to just destroy the papered ballots. And what was her reason for this? Well, there was actually zero reason whatsoever, and it turns out that after a major election, or after any election in Broward County, you actually have to hold on to those ballots for 22 months. But probably even more importantly, if you get subpoenaed, you're not allowed to destroy evidence, period. Now, the attorney's response, her attorney, Snipes' attorney, her response to this was, or his response was, well, we didn't actually destroy the ballots because, you know, they're still on the electronic machines, so it's fine. We still have copies of them. You mean the same electronic machines that have been tampered with since they've been invented? So we're supposed to just take your word for it that you didn't tamper with them again. Now, I am so ecstatic that Tim Canova has brought this to the forefront, because we are finally seeing election fraud right in front of us getting national coverage. And this really, in my opinion, kind of answered the questions of a lot of the people who say, well, why do we still need to talk about Hillary Clinton? Why do we still need to talk about Debbie Wasserman Schultz? Why do we still need to talk about these establishment candidates who are not currently in power? Well, the first thing I would say to them is, this is exactly why. Because until we start holding people accountable, we will never see the change that we are so hungry for. The change that we are constantly demanding. But how are we ever going to get that change if we never actually follow through on our demands? If we never actually follow through with the election fraud and auditing it and figuring out what the hell is going on and talking about how to prevent it from happening again. And one of the best deterrents from committing a crime is charging that person and sending them to jail. I bet a lot of people will start second guessing whether or not they want to take their chances and commit election fraud. Now, the other thing that I would tell those people who keep saying, well, why can't we just move on? She's not in power, or they're not in power, is that's not how politics work. Just because one does not hold political office, it does not mean that they are not in power. Ask Bill Clinton. Ask Dick Cheney. Ask the Bush family. who's still in power to a large degree in some decisions. Ask John Brennan, who is no longer the director of the CIA, but is in charge of a massive disinformation campaign. Politics is not cut and dry. If you're not in office, you're not in power. That's not how it works. You still maintain a lot of influence. But then the third thing I would tell those people is that, believe it or not, we as adults and as human beings, as simplistic as some may seem, have the ability to multitask. So if it is time, and when it is time, and it has been time and time again, to hold Trump accountable, we can do so. That does not take away from our ability to then hold Hillary Clinton, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and others alike accountable as well. We can do two things at once. I do it pretty frequently here on this channel. I see Tim Black do it pretty often also. I see a lot of independent journalists and people who may not be journalists, but people on social media, and we can do it. We're capable of multitasking, believe it or not. Now, we have to remember, problems don't get solved unless you solve them. If you're troubleshooting for a problem on your computer and another problem comes up, do you just stop troubleshooting the first problem you had and then expect your computer to work fine? No. You deal with both of your issues. Usually you're dealing with them in order, but you deal with them really in order of what's most important at that time. And the truth of the matter is, many of you want Donald Trump to be held accountable for things that he may or may have not done, things that he's been accused of that I believe he's guilty of, and some things, a lot of them, he's not guilty of. It's just the establishment media trying to distract the public. Now, how do you expect us to hold Donald Trump accountable? If we weren't even able to hold Hillary Clinton accountable, and she is as guilty as sin, caught red-handed, literally doing everything that we've accused her of, that she's been accused of. How are we ever going to get what you want if we don't do what justice requires at this very moment, which is balancing the scales by holding the elite accountable, regardless if they are Democrat, Republican, independent, or otherwise? And it starts with people like this great man and hopefully future Congressman Tim Canova. So I want to thank you so much for staying diligent, Tim. I want to thank you so much for reaching out to Jared and Liz. And once again, Jared and Liz, you're part of something absolutely amazing. You know how much I love you guys. You're once again part of something absolutely amazing. And we're starting to see the tide turn, people. We are starting to see the tide turn. So thank you all so much for watching. Like I said, don't forget to join that one follow $1 campaign, and make sure that you hit that subscribe button. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.